I have my violin teacher in the back of my mind all the time,
Mhm.
in a good way, in a great way.
I
It's great.
kind of wish I had that. I'm losing my like rhythm sense. I was initially a drummer, and as I'm getting older, I'm starting to I'm drifting. I'm losing time.
Wait, I didn't know this about you. Okay, we
Yeah.
maybe we get into the show. Give me
Okay.
1 second. Hi, and welcome back to Quest Markers. On this show, we talk about the intersection of video games and our roles and disciplines in the gaming industry. My name is Marina. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a video game composer, just like my friend Terran here, vocalist, audio engineer, and your host. And today, I am so excited for this conversation. I'm so excited to have Terran with us. Terran is also a video game composer, and you work in VFX to the extent that you want to talk about that. He is currently working on a unique 2D platformer that I will let you introduce. I have gotten to play it. I love it. It's so fun. I made my own mode of the game that I think, other people should play. And the music is absolutely beautiful. I got a sneak peek on that a little bit ago now. And we'll have a Steam link for that in the description because it's officially on Steam, which is so exciting if anyone wants to check that out. As always, this episode will be timestamped with the topics we cover, so feel free to jump around if you are watching the VOD, and if you are a part of our live audience, welcome. If you're here with us on Twitch, we do have, as I mentioned, emote-only chat on for the duration of the episode. We'll turn that off for the Q&A. That's primarily so that I don't get distracted. But I am very excited for today's conversation because we get to talk about music. And Terran, before we dive into your introduction, how are you staying hydrated?
I have my Hallmark giant water bottle that
Excellent.
I have been ridiculed for having through all of high school, and I will continue to have forever. I know, I agree. I
What?
don't know why this was a point of silliness, but apparently everyone thought it was goofy that I had giant water bottles with me all the time.
Maybe you're just extremely hydrated. Humans are just really complex plants.
I think so.
Like, we're
Yes,
just plants.
exactly. I stand by. I think it's because I kind of drink nothing but water, and I think people who drink a lot of drinks that aren't water feel more hydrated than they are,
Yeah,
and don't
that's true.
realize how much water they're not having. This is my
That
theory.
Look, you're not wrong. I feel a little bit called out, but you're not wrong. I do. Okay, I am proud of myself.
Mhm,
I have this is an electrolyte water. It's watermelon flavored, but
mhm,
it is water. I'm
It's
very
water
proud.
plus.
Water plus. I'm staying hydrated. I'm
Yeah.
staying really hydrated because it is like an electrolyte drink. um, However, I can't record this show without also having a massive iced coffee.
I respect it deeply.
Uh, thank you. I am vegan,
Um,
so it's soy milk. Big fan, big fan.
I think my not. I don't drink coffee very often, but I think I kind of make jokes about it because I'm jealous. I can't drink coffee because it really. I think I'm really sensitive to it, and I
Oh,
feel it in my chest every time I drink it.
oh, I'm
And so it's
sorry.
only when I want to be hyper and also focused, that's when it's okay, this is a coffee day.
Yeah, I get that. What if you wake up groggy or sleepy?
I
How do
don't
you wake up?
often, and then I just deal with it. I think I am blessed with a very comfortable sleep cycle, and I do think it's because I don't drink coffee. I do believe this.
You're probably right. When I have coffee too late, I can feel it.
There was a period of time where I had coffee every day because I was getting up really really early for work, and I
Mm.
had trouble focusing, so I was just drinking tons and tons of coffee, and by tons I mean 1 cup a day, and my entire sleep cycle went to whack for that week, and just
Oh
suddenly I was waking up
no.
tired every single day, suddenly nightmare. So I think I'm
Oh
jealous of
man.
the coffee. I will say.
Whatever works for you though, right? Like, don't do something to your own detriment.
Yeah, but
What
I
about
w-
decaf? Can you do
I
decaf?
know I've
I'm
got to get into
curious.
decaf. I haven't tried it, but I do. This is the thing. I love a good breakfast meal, and I do think every breakfast meal is better with coffee.
Mm,
Some with iced coffee, some with hot
yeah.
coffee, but it's always better with coffee.
Yeah.
I gotta
Yeah.
get decaf. I gotta get decaf.
I love coffee. I love coffee. Also,
It's almost
welcome
like it's in your
in,
name.
everyone. It's almost like it's in my name. Look at that. Welcome. Hey, everybody. Um, well, we're just getting started. So for everyone who's just come in, welcome in. We were just talking about how Terran is staying hydrated. But Terran, before you introduce yourself, congratulations on getting your game on Steam. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the world to see it. I'm so excited that I got a sneak peek. as well. But please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Thanks. Yeah. So, my name is Terran. I am a visual effects artist by day, composer, game designer by night. The game we're working on with my partner Josh Ansari, we're making a. It's always hard to talk about it because it's kind of a platformer, but you can't walk or jump, so it feels dishonest to call it a platformer. But it's all about swinging. We've traditionally just described it as Spider-Man-esque in 2D. It's all about creating lines and pulling yourself closer and wrapping around objects, and it's very much a speedrunner's game. It started with a game jam where Josh asked me to direct him building a game, and I said, give me something with high G-forces and the feeling of flight, and this is what we come up with. So, yeah, that's what we're working on. It's called Unbound Drift. Hit Steam. We're hoping for a launch in the next couple of months. There's a few things a little up in the air, especially because I'm working while also working on the game, so we're not 100% certain how fast we're going to be working. But yeah,
so exciting.
Thank you.
And if you're like me, you don't swing, you just try to dash through the entire game.
Yes.
Which honestly, that was super fun.
Marina has tested our ridiculously difficult demo, and you absolutely just dashed through every level. You didn't swing a single time. And I think we're going to create a custom mode just for that. I think
Wait, really?
Yeah.
It was
probably
so
not,
fun.
but we might give you an achievement for
hell yeah.
dash only.
The only way to platinum the game.
Yeah, the only way to platinum the game. You can't 100% it unless you dash only the game as well.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Look, it speaks to replayability. I have played it. I have played it the intended way, but dashing was just really fun.
It's true. I think we actually have started making it a little hostile to people who only dash. Just specifically to like test those people.
Okay.
Not impossible. Right. It matters that it's possible to be dash only.
Yeah, for sure. Before we get into the bulk of our topics today, what are you currently playing? I actually don't know the answer to this.
I'm not playing a huge amount. I'm playing games that I've played for years and years. So I need a lot of, because I'm working a lot now, I need a lot of like turn my brain off games. So I'm not going to new things so much. I'm playing a game called Slay the Spire, which is my most played game on Steam. I've played so many hours of that. And I have a hardcore Minecraft world that is doing surprisingly well.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. Yeah. Nice. I also need turn my brain off games, but for me, what that means is my phone needs to be in the other room. And so I need to play a game where you can't pause. Like I need one of those. I need like
that sounds so stressful.
I'm playing Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, that's not I don't know that I'd call that a relaxed game.
I don't it's look, I don't think it's controversial to say that FromSoft games are like Dance Dance Revolution girly pop games. Okay, that's what they are. They're rhythm games.
Okay, actually, rhythm game is a good argument. Okay, I haven't played one.
I love it.
I can't critique too hard.
It's so fun. It's so good.
I played Dark Souls 3 on like Xbox 360. I think at some point.
Oh wow!
I don't think I got past like the tutorial boss.
That's fair. The tutorial boss is actually really difficult.
Yeah.
Especially if it's your first Souls game.
And it was very much like, what is this? I don't think I came in with the mindset of this is going to be grueling. I came in with the mindset of like, why is everyone talking about this?
And yeah. That makes sense.
Died a lot.
Yeah, that is the experience.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's get into it.
Terran. I'm excited.
How did you get into music composition? Tell me the history.
Yeah, it's kind of I don't know that I really like got into it in the sense like, so my mom wanted to be a soccer mom very badly. She wanted her kids to be in sports, and instead she got 2 artists. And so we did like ballet and violin and like fencing and like always trying to creative stuff. And so I got into drumming when I was very, very little. And that's what I did for 5 years straight, is I'm going to be a drummer. And I got into that. And then I got a guitar for Christmas, and then I got a piano, and then I got disposable income and started buying way more instruments. And I just got like really, really into it. But in terms of actually like becoming a composer for games, it was entirely out of necessity. Me and Josh are building this game, and we just suddenly needed music. And it's like, I'll do it, and that's where we are. It's kind of a weird world where I've been playing music for a tremendous amount of time, and I've been a professional artist for a lot of time, but I've not been a professional composer for any amount of time at all. So I'm dubious on how much I can call it professional composing, but it is. But
no, it is. the game is currently on Steam. It will be generating revenue.
Right,
That
I
makes you
agree.
a professional composer.
That's true. I feel it feels dishonest to put like in my title, because then someone's like, "Oh, can I hear anything you've worked on?" I'm like, "I got nothing. I got nothing online. It's all just been me goofing around for years
You
and
will
years."
soon, though.
I will soon. I will
There
soon.
you go.
I will be dropping a full playlist as the first thing I've ever made. Is like, here's a full game soundtrack. So
That's
it's exciting.
awesome.
Yeah.
And the music's beautiful too. It's gorgeous. It's so I feel like the storytelling in the game very much relies on the music and the environment in a lot of ways,
Hmm.
to create that emotional connection with the player. Obviously, it's really challenging mechanically, but what I think really makes it special is the artistry of it and the fact that the person who's playing it gets to interpret it however they want, right? So like if there's sad music playing, you're like, what happened here? And then you kind of put music plus the environment together and you're like, oh, okay. I wonder what could have happened in this place. I think there's a lot of artistry in it, so I'm excited for people to see it. Um, so is this the first time that you've composed? Have you not composed before this project?
A big thing about me is I really didn't like being taught music. Like having a teacher, I have a
Mm.
problem with authority, and so being told what to do when it came to a creative thing bothered me. I don't think it's possible to self-teach yourself music and not compose as you go,
Mm.
because the whole thing you're doing is goofing around and playing around and going, wait, that sounds nice, what if I do this, what if I do
Mm.
this, and you just keep like building on playing on it. And so I've never gotten good at like, I'm a bad performer of music, actually. Like, I don't have a lot of muscle memory of stuff, and so I'm really
Mm.
slow to actually play things, so I can't improvise. But I've for I think it's fair to say the last 12 years, I will just sit down at an instrument and be like, okay, well, what if we do this, and what if we do this, and over the course of 20 minutes, I'll build something,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll throw it away and move on to the next thing. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I get that. I just have a massive folder just called personal music, and it's just like hundreds of ideas that are
Yeah.
just there. And a
Yeah.
lot of it I think is practice. Like a lot of it is maybe not intentionally like sitting down and being like, I need to practice my craft. It's more so I have something in my heart or I have something on my spirit that's maybe weighing on me or I feel a particular way. I just want to sit down and write, 10 seconds or 15 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever it might be, just for my own emotional processing or emotional release. So I don't really sit down with the intention of, oh, I'm practicing my craft. It's more like I have to do this. And I think for me, there's a lot of merit when people say, artists have to create. I have to create. Like even last week, I technically took last week off. I mean, I was kind of half working because I was building my PC. But I sat down when I had installed, like the bare bones of my music software and I just started writing for myself.
Mhm.
And I was like, this doesn't really feel like work. It's just, I have to create. I don't know if you feel that way.
Totally. I actually like throughout COVID and a little bit before that, I started experiencing a lot of like anxiety and like anxiety attacks. And I found that playing instruments, especially like half composing on them, was such a good way to calm down. It
Mm.
forces my entire brain to focus on something new instead of what I'm anxious about. It forces you to control your breathing if you're doing any singing. It's like
Mm.
suddenly you have to like breathe regularly and like move as you go. And it forces you to like keep time, which is a very grounding technique. And so hugely, that's what a lot of music has been for me. It's like, okay, this is a way to like,
Mm.
for just a minute, like not exist in whatever world is causing a problem and just be here for a little bit. And it's always like very healing. So I
Mm.
totally agree with the like, I'm gonna be doing this whether anyone's paying me or not. This is just what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do. It's also where
Yeah.
my disposable income's gonna go. I have too many instruments. I have a long list of more to buy.
Hell yeah.
It's just gonna happen. This is my collector's item.
Hell yeah. Now that you've said that you're a drummer, I'm like, oh, okay, this is making sense. I actually have never thought about the fact that I have thought about the fact that music is very meditative to me, but I've never thought about it in how you've just described it, which is you are forced to breathe a certain way if you're singing, and that forces you to bring air into your lungs and you're forced to keep time, and that's really good. It's almost the equivalent of boxed breathing in a way, kind
Yeah.
of. Obviously it's a little bit more musical, but interesting. I like this.
It's also like it's all of those things. It's the meditation on top of it of feeling like you're connecting with yourself again, and also still
Yeah.
connecting with the world, because music is usually about the things going on.
Yeah.
And so it's not like fully disconnecting from everything, which can itself
Yeah.
be a little harmful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very philosophical.
We got very, yeah.
I feel like I got into composition in a very similar way. It's like when you're learning an instrument, I feel like I naturally gravitated towards this sounds kind of good. And you start like making your own little tunes. But it was really on acoustic guitar, where I was like, oh, I can just learn like a few chords and I can start writing my own music to these chords. And that was kind of a big moment for me.
Was that your instrument progression? Was violin to guitar?
It was violin, which I took in school. My school had offered like you can join orchestra. You might be behind on class though, because if you join the string section, you need to not go to math, and then you need to make up this math class. Yeah,
Really?
it was very odd. But like super grateful that I could do it at that age. I was pretty young. Violin, and then like I would say I'm very self-taught on piano. I've never taken piano lessons. A part of me wants to now, where I'm like, I know enough piano to go in, probably not, at an not at a beginner level, and then guitar, and specifically electric guitar. I don't know why I started on electric guitar, but yeah. So like we've spoken about music theory a fair bit. I feel like so much of my music theory knowledge comes from my old violin teacher, my conductor, who was always like, it's not this, it's a staccato. Staccato is like this. And so naturally I feel like you build up the vocabulary of like, oh yeah, this is whatever, a legato, this is a staccato, this is this articulation, this is, time signatures. I don't even really think about very much. I mentioned this before we hit record. I conduct to myself a lot of the time when I'm writing, because I'm like, and my next question for you is, how do you come up with musical ideas? And a lot of the time for me, I'll hear a melody in my head and I'll kind of sing it into my phone, and then I'll like while I'm doing that, I'm like, what time signature is this? And I'll start conducting to myself. But anyway, I digress. How do you come up with musical ideas?
Theft. I steal. that's the honest answer. If you're like ever working with me on anything creative, the entire conversation I will be talking about other works, where I'll be like, oh, I kind of want this feel from this thing, and I kind of want this feel from this thing, and I'm always talking about like stealing ideas and sections. And I think that comes to like my philosophy on how I work on things anyways, is I'm always going to iterate a million times. I'm always going to make something like change a little bit, change a little bit, change a little bit, change a little bit. And kind of the ship of Theseus, at some point we are totally different from where we started. And so I don't mind starting at a place of complete fraudulent copying, because I know that's not where we're going to end up. But it gives me like a place to build off of, and it gives me it's a great like way where I feel like sitting in an empty void and just being like, come up with something, is going to drive me insane anytime I have to do that. And so just give me like a starting place, and I'll tell you exactly why it's not quite our right starting place. And suddenly I can move in a direction instead of like picking from a blank field.
Reference tracks are probably really helpful for you if you're collaborating with someone and that person's like, we're kind of aiming for this vibe. And if you have
100%.
enough reference tracks, you can kind of piece together like, oh, okay, we're aiming for this emotion. We're aiming for kind of this tempo. We're aiming for etc. Because frequently, I don't know about you, but like frequently I work with people who are not musicians. And so I come in as the person that can talk people's ears off about theory, but I'm not going to sit there and talk people's ears off about theory. And so reference tracks are really helpful in just anchoring us to specific things. What instruments do we want? What instruments do we not want? Similarly to you, I iterate a lot. So it's like, can we anchor ourselves into the basics, like tempo, time signature, instruments, emotion, like what does, maybe the studio like about this reference music, and I kind of take that, think about it, and start writing. Someone can send me concept art or like video of gameplay, and I'll just hear music. And so when we spoke last week, I was like, how do people who don't have this write music?
Just have a composer in your head.
I have a little goblin in my brain that's like, do, do, do.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
Yeah, and I've always had it. So I don't. So it's fascinating to me how and this is such a new, I don't know why this is such a new realization to me, but it's fascinating to me, like if someone can't hear music when they see a photo or when they watch a video, I'm like, how do you start then? Because
Yeah.
frequently, like, and it is a spectrum, right? So like
Mhm.
sometimes I'll be able to hear the entire song, and that's when it's like you grab the voice note and you're talking to yourself and you're like, okay, I want the drums to do this, and I want the bass to do this, and I want a synthesizer coming in doing this, and I want vocals coming in doing this, and you're like trying to capture it as accurately as you can before you forget it. And then sometimes it's, the exact opposite, where it's like, I just hear one instrument, or I just hear a rhythm or a tempo, and I can more so feel it. um and sometimes it's in the middle, where it's like, well, what if we do this, what if we do this, but I can kind of hear at least the instruments that I want to use. um
That sounds like such a gift. I I'm very jealous. Yeah, no, I don't have that. I will be given concept art and it's crickets in my brain. And so immediately it has to I do it very collaboratively. I have to
mm,
talk about it a lot and it's like, okay, well, tell me what I should be feeling. Like I might already be feeling something from the art where it's like, oh, this feels lonely or this feels this, but like
mm,
what is that intended? Like da da da, and we'll really go through those things. And then once I can really figure out what I want to feel like, I go, what other works have made me feel like this? And then I go and
mm,
immediately start breaking down ideas and going, oh, all of these are all in minors and they all like
mm,
don't resolve. They never resolve anywhere. And so it's like,
mm.
okay, well, we're going to obviously steal that as an idea, as a good starting place and just keep going from there. But yeah, it sounds like the difference is a lot more of a slog for me. I'm like, oh, I got to figure out what my brain wants this to be.
Your music theory is really strong, though, in
I
general, and I feel like that helps. I know a lot of people, a lot of the modern discussion about music is you don't need music theory to write music, which to a degree, like, yes, you don't need to know absolutely everything about music theory in order to write
Mhm.
music, but music theory is incredibly valuable and to me very important. So you saying this doesn't resolve, I know what that means, because that's a music theory concept. Or you
Right.
saying this is in minor, that's a music theory concept. Or like if we
Mhm.
want to go, more advanced, like, oh, the Lydian mode of whatever, it's music theory, and it's just vocabulary, right? It's like I feel
Yeah.
like what you maybe rely on, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong,
Mhm.
is how deep your foundation is of music theory. And you can kind of piece things together, especially being a percussionist, where you're
Mhm.
like, I wonder if you tend to start with percussion and then apply your music theory knowledge into writing something that's unique and you.
Yeah, definitely to a degree. I rely on music theory. It is funny where like I'm the actual like melodies and the structure of a song is very intellectualized. It's very much like I want to break this down into numbers and I want to do it like math.
Mm, mhm, mhm.
But the rhythm of it has always been instinctual to me, and I do think that's from drumming at a very
Mm,
young age,
mhm,
where it's like um I'll never have to go in and like break down the math of a rhythm and like no, I'll just drum this out and I kind of know what it should
mhm,
feel like, and then we'll move on and do the melody stuff, which is the hard part for me. And actually, it makes me think of like there's a great quote from somewhere of style is just all the things you can't help but do wrong. Style is your chronic
ooh,
mistakes, and that's what creates a style. And so, like for me, I feel like melody is weirdly weak for me, even though it's all music theory and breaking it down in math. I feel like it's so conscious for me. It's so
mm,
manual. And so I tend to lean a lot more on rhythm. And it's like, okay, if we have a really interesting rhythm, the melody can only be so and the rhythm will carry that. And that's becomes a style, but it's kind of born out of a weakness, right? And I think that's what every style tends to be to an extent.
that's fascinating. I'm gonna have to think about that.
Yeah. I've
Style is
never
born of mistakes.
now that I've said it on a podcast that's recorded, I'm now worried that I haven't thought about that a lot and I might have insulted someone. But that is how I think of it. It's
But it's
just whatever.
nuanced. Like it's all nuanced. That can be
Totally.
true along with many other things, right? So like I
Mhm.
think that's really I'm gonna have to think about that.
You can of course like build up whatever fault caused your style, but then stick to your style because you like it
Mm,
and you don't need it anymore, but it's still like it's what I used to do and I like the feel of
mm,
it. So
mm,
style can also be style, but I think especially for starting artists, style will just be
mm,
you compensating for the things you're not great at, and it'll create something that's very uniquely you.
mm. Interesting. I don't know that I even have a knee-jerk reaction to that. I love that. I love the idea of like we're constantly making mistakes, right? Like no one's perfect. I have probably made a ton of mistakes today. And it's the early afternoon. But to your point, like how can we use that and how can we alchemize it into something, right? Like
Mhm.
I love that. And that's like a whole process of self-discovery as well. Maybe it's the process of finding a style. I'm gonna think about this for like a week now and get back to you.
Excellent.
I love it. Um, you've already kind of spoken about your creative process for writing music for a video game. Can I dig into the iteration of it? Because I'm
Mhm.
very similar to you in that way. I love iterating. I love putting forward a rough idea and being like, hey, here's what I hear, not fully produced, very much a demo. Curious what you think, and then getting feedback on that and figuring out am I on the right path? But I'd love to dig into the iteration. What does that look like for you typically?
Yeah, I feel like I tend to try to nail down as much as possible. As soon as I like something at least 80%, I'm like, this is now a stone
Mm,
pillar. It will never move. And I build everything else around it. And once I have a bunch of stone pillars that everything's pretty good, suddenly everything becomes malleable again. And it's
mm,
like, okay, things that were once immovable can now be movable, but they're now surrounded by things that are 80% good. So
mm,
I know what to base things off of now. So I very much think of it like that, of just like putting pins in a board and trying to
mm,
take this like constantly shifting amorphous realm of infinite possibilities and slowly narrow it down into finite, like, okay, now it's three ideas, okay, now it's two
mm,
ideas, okay, now it's the idea we like, right? It also means very often zeroing in on something only to realize this is not at all what we want, like we've
mm.
gone entirely down the wrong path. And I'm a chronic version saver. I'm a chronic like version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4. Final things I work on will be version 48, 56. And it's like, because I want to go back 3 versions and be like, okay, we took a
Mm,
wrong turn back there. What if we went the other direction? Right. Um, but yeah, so it's constantly trying to remember what the core idea used to be while trying to mess about. Actually, there's a great, oh, who said this? It was John Cleese, I think, who's one of the original guys from Monty Python. He gives a speech on creativity, and he talks about the open mind and the closed mind. And the
mm,
open mind is a space where any idea is a good idea. Everyone is free to contribute. You're just like taking all advice. And at a certain point, you got to close the mind and actually do something now, like actually build the
mm,
thing. And I think of trying. He kind of talks about it as like two segments. There's a line through the middle, but I try to like sneak from one into the other, where it's like
mm,
we have the open mind and we're slowly closing doors as we go and slowly like inching towards it until at the end of the process you're fully closed mind, we know exactly what we want, we're just building it now.
mm,
So that's kind of my process.
mm.
What about
I
you?
think making
Oh,
Sorry, I was just going to add, if
yeah.
that's okay. I think making fast decisions is a superpower.
Mm,
Um, I really do. And I had one of my professors was like, you gotta just commit. Just take your MIDI
yeah.
and just bounce it to audio. I was like, absolutely not. What do you mean? I do that right before I start mixing.
Mhm.
What do you mean bounce your MIDI to audio? That I can't go back easily.
Yeah, yeah,
What do
yeah.
you mean? So I like to have like if you look at my sessions, it's like I try to do things in MIDI as much as I can until my CPU goes, I can't handle this, which I just upgraded my computer, so I can now. Um, but yeah, I similar to you, like things are malleable, and I lock things in like with colors. I color code things, so like I'll keep
Mhm.
it MIDI, but if I start hearing something else throughout the song and I want to change something, it's easy for me to go change something. And then if something is really really malleable, it's red in my session. And
Mhm.
I love red, but red is also just a very bright color, and it's nice to just be able to look at your session and be like, how much red do I have? Like, are we at 30% or 20%? Like, how much more do I have until I can send this in for feedback?
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, so that's a little bit, I guess, about my process.
Yeah, I think we're very much the same in that. As much as I say that's what I do, that's what I try to do. I do have creative commitment issues where I very quickly I'm like, wait, but let's not nail this one in yet because it could be
Mm,
better. Like I say I want to cut it off at 80%. I really cut it off at 90, 95. I'm
mm.
like only when I'm really sure this is working do I really lock it down. But I
Yeah, I get
try to
that.
fight that.
I get that. What about when you're mixing? Do you have I spend so much time mixing, and I think I have finally figured out like when I start adjusting volume by like 0.3 dB is probably when the mix is done. Like when the client has been like, this is great. And I'm like, is it though? That's probably when a mix is done.
Yeah.
I feel like I spend a lot of time mixing because there's a lot of different ways to mix a song. And for folks who are unfamiliar, maybe we can run through kind of the whole process of making music. And Terran, feel free to jump in. For
Mhm.
me, a lot of it is like idea generation slash like putting a demo together slash getting the vibe down, demo composition. Next up is what I call like full production. So, like adding additional instrumentation, adding more layers to things so that it sounds more full, going in and doing all the like manual work of like pitch bending a note, or if you're writing strings, like going in and programming the volume of your strings so that it sounds natural, like all the like really technical tech stuff that you do to achieve a particular sound. Once that's done, is mixing, where you take every single layer, and this is where I bounce things to audio. You take every single layer and you make them all sound good together, which like a part of that is adjusting volume, a part of that is panning, a lot of it is very technical terms, that come into place: the equalization, compression, saturation, etc., that we're not going to get into. And then the last step is mastering. And this is assuming that there's no vocals. Like there's if there's vocals, there's a whole like vocal production step, which is like tuning vocals and editing them and figuring out what you want them to sound like. Mastering is making sure that things are loud enough, making sure that the entire song is loud enough, making sure that it sounds good on multiple devices. And how loud enough will depend on what medium it's going to be distributed to as well. But like there's a lot of like checkpoints where I'm like, okay, this checkpoint is done and I'm closing the book on that checkpoint or chapter maybe, and then I'm going to move on to the next chapter. Once that's done, I'll move on to the next chapter. I feel like I spend so much time mixing because there's a million ways to do it.
Yeah. That was really great to hear. Now I feel like I should have written them down.
Before I go down a rabbit hole, I'm just going to keep us moving.
Okay.
Unless you have anything else.
Nope, I've got it.
You want to add?
Nope.
Do you have any favorite tools for music making? It could be anything. It could be like you love this microphone, or you love this software, or you love this instrument, or
Ooh.
what might that be?
I mean, I have a tremendous amount of love for my guitar. Got it for Christmas. I've had it for a lot of years. I don't know that I would call that a music making tool though. I play that like more for me. I don't think I've ever recorded it for anything. Actual like composing tool. I've been getting into free VSTs a lot lately, just because everyone's got to go down that rabbit hole every once in a while. And the BBC Symphony Orchestra VST is so much fun. It puts such a goofy grin on my face to just feel like I'm conducting an entire orchestra. And like I have a saved file that's just blank orchestra, and it's every instrument gets its own layer, because I just want to every once in a while, like I'm going to pop in, I'm going to just quickly throw some notes in and just suddenly have a full orchestral build. And now I'll go back to work because I had my fun. Like it's entirely just like the feeling of conducting for a minute is very joyous.
I love that.
And then I actually do use it for composing a little bit.
Yeah.
I've never used a paid VST tool, so my like bar of like what I think is normal is the free ones, and for free I think this is incredible. I bet there are paid ones that are way more interesting and intricate, but
I've heard it and it sounds incredible. I've never used it. So the fact that it's free is like, what a great entry level tool, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and it's very effective as a way to try to get me to buy the paid ones, because if this is the free one, ooh,
what could I get?
Yeah.
That's a dangerous road to go down. Like, I mean, the way that I built up all of the instruments that I use and tools that I use is by not buying it right away, because it's so easy to be like, oh, well, I'll just get this, and then you end up with a tool set that's massive, and then you're like, you're only going to use your favorites anyway, unless it's something that is very, very specific that you need for a very specific reason. So like, for example, I just went through the process of like, activating my second licenses on my new computer. And a lot of the things that I brought over is like my core tool set, where some things I'm like, oh, I haven't used this in like 3 years, which was a fascinating exercise in general. So yeah, I feel like now I have my like core tool set that I really love, and it's I guess, flexible enough to be able to use, on different genres and different types of projects. But there were like a fair few things, and luckily many of them I got for free that I was like, I don't think that I really need this on my new computer. And if I really do, then um, I'll download it again. But I will say, iLock, the little USB that it's basically a license manager. Like you have your licenses on it, and then basically the idea is you can plug it into your home laptop, you can plug it into a desktop, etc. It carries all of your licenses with you, so you don't need like 3 or 4 different licenses for things. That has saved me. Like, it has genuinely been so nice
That
to
sounds
just have
incredible.
all of my licenses on my USB. So like if I unplug that and I open up my music software, it's like, you don't have the license to use this. And then you plug it in and it's like, yeah, this license is yours. That's been really nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's been great.
That's awesome.
So
Actually,
yeah.
you also made me think of something else I want to go back to when we were talking about getting ideas and like going to steal from existing things. I think this is another big reason I like trying to steal from things that have a similar vibe of what we're doing, at least for version 1, is because I will go back to my favorites if I don't do that. Like if I just am like, okay, out of a void, let's create something, I'm going to go to the exact same instrument I always go to. I'm going to go to like my exact same vibe. And you can get anything out of, I think, piano. Like, you can get happy, you can get sad, you can get cheery, you can get, but if you go and start stealing ideas, I might be like, I never would have thought of synth for this, but this game makes it work. So maybe we should be trying synth, like, and immediately like it forces me to start like exploring new realms very, very quickly. Yeah, I just thought of that actually.
I feel like that's kind of the equivalent of doing music studies, right? Like, of being like, I'm going to study this piece of music and I'm going to recreate it as faithfully as I possibly can. It's essentially doing a cover of a song, but it really forces you to listen, and it really forces you to think about, what is this instrument in the right ear that's like kind of coming in and kind of panning to the middle and kind of going away. It's giving this really cool effect. Oh, I think it's a piano with a bunch of reverb on it. Like, there's so much to be learned from just listening to a ton of music and then taking those techniques and figuring out, how do I apply this, 6 months down the line or a year down the line. I listen to a fair bit of music, less music now that I like work on it professionally, which is kind of ironic, but like, there's so much to be learned about just listening to music and doing studies and really decomposing a piece and figuring out, what makes this sound a particular way? What instruments did they use? Why? What's it contributing to the piece? I think is really fascinating.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. That's a great like reason for me to like, okay, now I can sit down for an hour and take this apart. Whereas if I'm just like, oh, I should know this, it feels like homework, and I then suddenly struggle to actually do it.
Do you listen to music differently now that you write music? Like, do you listen to music with the intention of like passively studying it, or
it's very, very minor. I experience this with visual effects for sure, where now I watch movies and I will constantly remind myself not to tell everyone around me when I find something cool, where I'm like, oh, that edge is weird, oh, that green screen doesn't work, like, I have to, like, no one cares, like, and it ruins the movie, let's keep that to myself. So I've actually kind of actively tried to make sure that doesn't happen with music, so I try to listen to music more intentionally, not dissecting it. But I for rhythm, I definitely do. I will always like, what time signature is this? Because it's fascinating. Like, I actually have multiple playlists I follow of like weird time signatures, because it's fun to go through that. But yeah, I also have terrible pitch, actually. So like, I can't hear a fourth compared to a fifth as well as I feel like I should. So actually dissecting it in that way, I just can't. So
interesting. Do you have a favorite time signature? That's such a musician's question. But you're like, as a percussionist, surely you have a favorite time signature.
I really like
a favorite weird time signature.
Ooh, okay. So, I was gonna say 5/4, but I don't think that's
a weird one. No, it's a little weird.
It's a little weird. My favorite is polyrhythms. I really polyrhythm. I really like 3/4. I will just drum that all the time on my hand, and every time I'm writing a song, I'm like, can I? And I will always test just very briefly. I'm like, no, this doesn't work. Okay, we'll move on. It's fine.
I love that.
But yeah. I think polyrhythms are definitely where my heart's at.
There's I don't know if you listen to Sleep Token, but the first single off of their latest album it's in 4/4 where the
Mhm.
third beat was coming in slightly late and it was messing up the entire internet and everyone was like, what is this? What is this time signature? What's happening? What's going on? That third note was just coming in, or the third beat was coming in slightly late, and it was throwing me off when I first was listening. I was like, I'm like conducting to myself. I'm like, is this 4/4?
Mhm.
It's great. I'm a huge fan of something like that.
Yeah, the internet's wild for time signatures. Everyone will tell you a different number for something, and I think what's fascinating is they're not always all wrong. Like, I think a
Mm,
lot of the time there's multiple right answers. Because if you have, like, 4/4 and you move that third beat, you could argue that you're actually breaking it into 16th beats and, like, breaking it up into a different number, and you're not incorrect, it's just not useful.
I mean,
But
it is math.
yeah.
I'll take your 5/4 answer.
Okay, 5/4.
um, we've kind of been towing around this topic, but what advice do you have for someone listening who might want to pursue music in some capacity, music composition in some capacity in the future? I guess this is the equivalent of me asking you, like, what advice would you give your younger self?
Those are different answers,
Oh,
to give someone
okay.
else or to give younger me.
Yeah.
If you because I think it's different if you're already in music in general compared to and trying to get into composing versus if you're not in music at all and you wanna get into composing. Um, I'll do for other people first. I think the biggest thing is just, like, I think mess around, like, really, really play with the space and make trash, like, make things that are really bad. I think it's important to, like, play with play with things that scare you and you think you'll make a terrible version of it.
Mm.
Um, because I don't think I think you learn so much faster when you do something wrong versus doing something right. And if that feels discouraging, you can alternate, do something that feels really, really good, and then do something that's really, really scary. And you don't have to share any of it. Make a trash folder, hide it away. Don't tell the world you're doing this, but just like alternating between the hardest thing you can think of and the most fun thing you can think of. And then if you at any point want to take it very seriously, go back and find the worst thing you made and try to fix it and like try to make it good now.
Mm.
Because if you can do that, if you can take the most creative and complicated and difficult idea you've had and turn it into something that's wonderful, then suddenly everything in every range of space you know you can do. Like I can take the worst thing and turn it amazing. I can do anything, and suddenly
Mm.
you're kind of done. You don't stop learning, but you know you can learn any of it that you have to learn.
Mm.
I think that would
That's
be that.
really good advice.
Mhm.
I like that a lot.
And I don't think like you can I don't think you can make good things that you don't love making. Like if you just are like, "Oh, I'm gonna try to make something that sounds good," you're gonna make a decent amount of things that would do well, but you're not actually as in love with. Whereas if you're doing terrible
Mm.
things first, you're like, "I'm in love with this even though it's awful. Like no one
Mm.
but me will love this, but I love it." And that will drive you to like really work on it and really find a way to
Mm.
make it work so that other people see what you see.
Music is so subjective though, right? So like I think that's the thing where, like if I'm writing for, let's say I'm writing for a game, and, again, the way that I write a lot of the time is I'll sit down, I'll look at concept art, I'll look at a video, and it just kind of comes to me, and
Mhm,
I'll see if I can track it as quickly as possible and see how I can make it work. Um, and then go and get feedback on it. I am so aware that music is very subjective, such that I do not take feedback personally at all. Like, I there is not a single person in the world who probably shares the exact same musical tastes as another person. It is so subjective. Music doesn't have to be extraordinarily complicated to really hit someone and really connect with someone. Um, and so when you say like take the worst thing you've made, it's like that's so subjective.
I totally agree with you. I think what I mean by wrong is like feels like what was in my head didn't translate to what I was trying to make. I think that's what I
Okay,
mean by
gotcha, gotcha,
bad.
gotcha. Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
I fully agree. If I think it's great, I don't care if everyone else thinks it's awful. Like fully agree on that side, and vice versa. If everyone else thinks it's great and I think it's awful, I'm the one who's making it, so I'm right. Just unless you have a client, but that's a whole other world. Um, Yeah, I fully agree with that. What I don't mean to imply there's an objective ranking of good and bad music, because that would irk me to my core for someone to think that I believe that.
And I didn't think that that's what you said, but
Mhm,
I like the specificity of I had this idea in my head and I didn't know how to translate it into what I was writing. I like
mhm,
that a lot. I think I might go back to stuff that I've written like, a decade ago. Be like, well, what was I trying to get at here? And what would I do differently?
mhm.
Hmm. I like that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I do also think about, like, it was a random TikTok I saw, but someone said the line of, "Talent is a myth, it's just love put over time." And I think that's wonderful, and I think
Mm.
that's so true. It's like, I actually growing up, because I started music so young, I got a lot of people being like, "Wow, he's just, like, naturally talented at this." And every time it's actually a little annoying, because it's like, I put so
Mm.
much effort and
I was
time and
gonna
energy
say.
into this. It's not like people are born good at this, it's people are born loving this, and then suddenly they're just gonna spend a lot of time doing it, and it's kinda not possible to love something and do it for a long time and not become at least decent at it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. It's all it is focus, right? Like you build skills by focusing on something, and focus comes from passion, right? It's like I
Mhm,
think when a lot of people say talent, it's like maybe that person hasn't seen the amount of time and focus and education and effort and self teaching that has gone into making this sound the way that it sounds. I think skill is naturally built over time if we focus on something long enough. And obviously like it's nuanced as everything is, right? Like if you're learning a very particular thing, like yeah, it's probably a good idea to see if you can learn from someone and to see what techniques other people use and what they might do with a particular sound to make it sound a certain way that maybe you didn't think of. Um, but in general, yeah, I think the more music that you write, the more you're building the muscle of like everything, right? Composition, production, mixing,
mhm.
etc. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Uh, what is your dream project? Whether genre, type of game, I don't know, collaborator, like through any dimension. Pick a dimension. What's your dream project? If you could open up your email inbox immediately after we finish recording, and like, an inquiry was in your email inbox, like, hey, we would like to invite you to write music for XYZ.
Mhm.
What is it? What's the project?
It's funny, this is my first compositing job ever is working with, my design partner, Joshua Ansari, and it's where the project started with me kind of as the writer and director, as, like, he's like, "Give me a thing you wanna write." And so I think I'm doing it. I think this is because this is
Oh,
entirely
I
I was given
love
a blank
this.
page, and he's like, "Do whatever your heart's content. Like, just build what's interesting to you." And he's there to, like, he's brilliant to, like, support that, but he is so hands off with the creative direction, where it's like, whatever you want to do, he'll give his opinion, but he's like, whatever you want to do, that's where we're going, because this is kind of your game. And that's, to be fair, I think that's initially because it was meant to be a 1 week project, and now it's
Mm,
7 months. But it's born out of that, and at this point we're like, well, we have to keep the creative vision that was set up at the beginning, so we're still kind of in that realm. So yeah, I think I'm currently doing it. If you want a more talking about other games answer, uh, I love the, like, music of The Last of Us, that world.
I've
Um,
never played it.
oh, I think there are other, like, soundtracks that are more maybe technically impressive or more, like, interesting to dissect and stuff like that, but I think The Last of Us has from every game I've played, has the most, like, resonance with the actual material it's trying to share.
Mm,
It's the most it's so entangled and tied, where it's not the music doesn't change the story in any way at all, it just amplifies it so much. um and so I was dissecting this before of, like, why, because I like, sorry, the Last of Us world and music has my ideal story type, which is it's all hopeless with a little bit of hope
mm,
and a lot of beauty. And for some
mm.
reason, that is the most attractive narrative for me that's possible. And the music resonates with that, and the world resonates with that, and the two make each other stronger. And at this point, if I hear Last of Us music, even without ever seeing anything of the game or the show, I will probably start crying. It is just like, because it's so now entangled with that story.
Damn. Yeah.
So any game that's like The Last of Us would be my more interesting answer.
Okay, so I've never played The Last of Us,
Mhm.
but have you played Nier Automata? I know this is such a meme. I know I talk about this game a lot, but have you played Nier Automata?
I've heard you talk about this game. I've not played it.
I feel like you might like it
Let's
based off
see
of
it.
what you described.
Okay.
Because it's so good. It's so good.
I'll have to check it out. Your
We have
last
some
game
yeah in the chat.
recommendation was like one of the best games I've played in a long time. So your
Thousand Times
recommendation holds a
Resist.
lot of weight. 1,000 Times Resist. Yeah.
Oh,
Excellent game recommendation. So
that
Nier
game
Automata
is
is now on the
so
list.
good.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I think about it at least on a weekly basis.
Yeah,
Oh my God,
it's
Thousand
still
Times
stuck in my
Resisted
head.
this thing. It's so
It
good.
did. It was a little bit like it's so good at creating its mood. It actually like did trigger some anxiety in me pretty badly. So I had to start breaking it
Oh,
up
I'm
because like I
sorry.
can't play this all in
Yeah.
one sitting. I think that's great though. When a game can do that, because you have the ultimate like basically safe word of like I can close the game. Like if I'm
Yeah.
ever not
Yeah.
okay, I can just pause, close, I can take a step away. And so because of that, I feel like games are such a beautiful games and stories in general are a beautiful way to explore those more difficult emotions.
I
And so I
agree.
kind of love when a game can give me an anxiety attack. I will stop playing when the anxiety attack hits, but I'm like, oh, I respect that. The game did well.
Yeah, I mean, games are art, right? Like anything that can trigger an emotional reaction from me. Like any put the controller down moment, I need to just feel my way through this
Mhm.
is big.
100%.
You might enjoy Nier Automata then. You
Okay.
know,
Okay.
there's a lot of put the controller down moments. The
I'm writing
music
it
is
down.
fabulous. Like it's the soundtrack is so good. I would be very keen to get your thoughts on the OST
Okay.
because it's fabulous, and they do vertical music sequencing really well. So like, for example, you might be in the overworld and like a few layers of music are playing and you go into battle and like the percussion kicks in or like a cello kicks in, but it's the same song. It's just more layers. It's
Love
just
it.
chef's kiss. Like it's done so well. Anyway, I can't go 3 seconds without talking about this game. Apparently, and it's incredible. Just so good. So good. We can start slowly wrapping up before we open up the Q&A. Tell us about your favorite video game music. What comes to mind?
I mean, I just talked about Last of Us for a while. Absolutely that one. It's a weird question because it's like, is it the best music in isolation or is it the best music and game combo? Like how they work with each other? Like
Up to you.
there's a game called Red String Club, which is a small narrative experience, and I do really like the game, but I entirely played the game because I learned the songs on piano first, and I like fell in love with this music. And it was after like years of playing the song when I went, I should know where this came from in case it's like awful. And I played in public, and people were like, "You like that game?" So I went and played it. But it is a wonderful game as well. So that's a big one. Hollow Knight's pretty easy. Give me beautiful
Oh
world.
God, I love Hollow Knight so much.
Yeah.
Why was the Silk Song announcement done in like 3 seconds at the Nintendo Switch 2 event?
Yeah. I'll be honest, at this point with this amount of distance, my love for Hollow Knight hasn't died, but my like excitement for Silk Song kind of has. I don't know. It's just so many false starts. And at this point I'm like, all right, I'll play it when it's out. And I'll probably open it and immediately start crying. But until then.
Same.
Yeah.
Until Team Cherry releases an announcement, I'm kind of like,
yeah,
I'm just gonna wait until we hear from Team Cherry. But
it's the same with any show that like
Knight.
takes 2 years to get another season. It's like, so just try to forget about it for now. Like
yeah. Oh my God, Hollow Knight is incredible. I listened to that OST like front to back after I finished the game. Just so good. Do you have a favorite track from Hollow Knight?
It might be Green Path. Green Path is just so chef's kiss. I don't know. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it really is.
Gotta love strings. I think it's a big reason I bought a violin and then realized I can't play violin anymore. But I very much wanted to play Hollow Knight music. Yeah, and that one I think is another one of the relationship between the game and the music. Like it's, but it's different because like what I was saying is Last of Us, I feel like the two resonate with each other. Where I feel like Hollow Knight, the music augments the game. which isn't better or worse, but just like the game, if you played the game on mute, it would be one experience. If you just listen to the music, it's a different experience. And then the two together is a whole third experience.
Oh, it's incredible.
Separate, you know?
It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I want to replay Hollow Knight.
Me too.
It's so good.
I can't wait for
like,
it's still a good, like, I'm on a flight and I need to bring a game or something. And I'm like, I'll just go to the Switch and I got Hollow Knight on there. That works.
Yeah. I mean, I did that recently on my last flight. I was like, Hollow Knight, new playthrough. Perfect. Let's go. From the beginning, you're like, why is this so poetic? Is this not supposed to be a game about bugs? And it's so much more than a game about bugs. I cried. I went through all of the stages of grief playing that game. It really, really touched me in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
God, I love Hollow Knight.
God, Hollow Knight's good.
I would definitely put Hollow Knight on that list. Off the top of my head, like Nier Automata, again, just extraordinary. Final Fantasy in general as a series has incredible music. 14 has some of the best music in gaming, I think. FromSoft games as well. Like, a lot of people will call out certain tracks in Bloodborne that I don't want to call out because they're spoilers. But again, like, I'm playing Dark Souls 3 right now and the music is so good. Yeah, there's a lot of good video game music out there.
There's a lot. I run Dungeons and Dragons, and so I'll have like constant. I'm like, oh, I need combat music, and you'll just find like a playlist of D&D combat music, and it's all game soundtracks, and it's actually such a wonderful way to like. Yeah. This keeps coming up. What game is this from? Oh, The Witcher. Yeah. Ah, yes. Like, perfect.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, nice. I love that. I think that's all we've got. Unless, like, is there anything that you really wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about before we open up Q&A?
I don't think so. I don't remember our paused topics from before.
Like, we write so differently.
Yeah, I love diving into like why people's brains are different and like the way everyone perceives the world so differently.
Yeah.
Even just like psychologically, of like opinions on things. But now you add the layer of like, oh, people also just see differently out of their eyes. People just hear different things.
Like, yeah. So anyway, thank you so much for letting me pick your brain. So excited. We'll open up the Q&A in a second. Sorry, I cut you off.
I was just going to say thank you for having me, but it's all right.
Thank you so much. Before we open it up for... I don't know what I did with my screen here. Before we open it up for Q&A, Terran, again, thank you so much for coming on. For everyone who's here, or if you're watching the VOD, thank you so much for being here. Our socials will be in the description if you would like to follow us. And let's go ahead and open up Q&A. If I can do it.
And now that I'm going back in, it's been so many months. I'm like, I'm going to rewrite a decent chunk of this now that it's different.
Really? You think so?
Not like throw anything away, but just like, I think it's a little thing of like, I can now come back to it fresh and like with slightly more critical eyes now, especially also we have more art of the game now. So it's like, we kind of established a bit of a style. It's like, okay, well, our style has drifted a little bit. So the music has to drift in that direction. And sometimes it's useful, I think, to like, okay, save this version. We can come back to this. Now throw it all away and try to recreate it, but now with the new knowledge. And like, you can kind of get something interesting. So yeah,
that's
I might be
fun,
rewriting a big chunk of it. I think it's fun. Yeah. I do really love the large scale design a lot more than the nitty gritty, like 4%, 3%. That kind of drives me a little crazy sometimes.
What do you mean? You don't like going in and programming pitch bends where you need them?
I don't know. Call me crazy, but
I will say, I don't compose full time. Like I do sound design and audio. I like mix and master for other people. And I guess we didn't talk about this like in the show proper, but I have this irrational fear that if I were to compose full time, which has not been my intention, that I would like use up too many creative juices. I don't even know what that means, honestly.
Know this feeling.
And so like I joke about like, oh, you don't like going in and programming little pitch bends. I love that because it's like kind of the, I guess what people would describe as like the menial, boring work where I'm like, I love it. This like, it's still music related. I get to rest my creative brain a little bit and I just get to go in and automate my little pitch bends and do my little modulation and, you know, or like if I'm mixing for someone, it's like, yeah, I get to go in and like apply my little EQ and, you know, so I love that.
I get what you're saying about like the fear of using up ideas, but I actually think this is this is one of the best pieces of like writing advice I think I've ever heard from like, this might have been Aaron Sorkin, but someone else might have said it. But being afraid to use up your good ideas is kind of not having faith that you'll be able to get new good ideas. And if you have to kind of just like, there's if you keep saving ideas for later, you will just be always using your B material until you retire. And you kind of have to, as soon as your A plus best idea works, you use it immediately and have faith that you will have another good idea. And I think that's one of the most important writing advice that I ever heard, because I especially like writing D&D, which is much lower stakes, but I would constantly be like, no, that's too good, let's like save that, and then the game ends and we never get to it. It's like, that's so much worse than blowing all your best stuff early. Like, I would much rather the latter.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna keep that. I might put that into the main show, because that's really good advice. I'm trying to think, like, do you get writer's block? I don't get writer's block.
I think I live in writer's block. Just period. I think my existence is writer's block and fighting against it. Both in music, in writing, in visual effects, all of it. My existence is writer's block. It's very possible I'm confusing writer's block with executive dysfunction. But like, I feel like every step of creativity for me is always very manual. I always have to like fight to find it. With rare exception. I think there's like, I can count on one hand the amount of times I've had a project and I'm like, I know what to do. Like, I know exactly what to do. It's so rare. Instead, I just pick the nearest okay idea and then I immediately start iterating on it. Yeah, I maybe we describe different things as writer's block, but I feel like that's my entire existence. I'm very jealous if you genuinely don't experience writer's block, because that's wild to me.
I don't think I do. I hear a lot of things. I used to say this, and I feel like it doesn't come across in the way that I experience it, but I think I hear emotion more than I feel emotion. I know that's such a strange thing to say out loud, but if I'm feeling something very strongly, I'm hearing the emotion.
Wow.
And I feel a little distant from the feeling of the emotion, because I can hear a soundtrack to it. I never like spoken in depth to someone about this.
I'm tremendously jealous. I had to get a tattoo of a cheat sheet to try
okay, your tattoo's
overcome...
really cool.
Thank you. I think it looks good. But it's me trying to overcome writer's block of like, okay, I now have a cheat sheet forever that I can reference when I have no ideas. Like, that's part of the idea of it. If I could just sit down and be like, what should this feel like? And I could just create it. And at least, like, obviously, I know you also iterate, but like, at least create a version 1. I'd retire. Like, I'm done. I can just relax, live the free life.
Having heard your music, I never would have guessed that there is any resistance in writing it. I never would have guessed. Because, like, Terran, it's so beautiful what you've written for the game. I never would have guessed. Any thoughts, questions? Ooh, fascinating. Oh, is that for me? I have a very hard time describing my experiences with that, because I feel like anytime I say it to someone, they're like, what do you mean you hear emotion more than you feel it? I'm like, I don't know how else to describe it.
No, I get you. Anytime I try to describe it, whatever neurodivergence I have, I like every word will just be like, that's kind of true, but it's not the whole truth. And I feel like it might be something similar to that, where it's like, I kind of get that we could talk for 20 hours and I don't think I'd understand what it feels like in your head. And
I don't think that I could describe it either. Yeah. I don't think I have the vocabulary to describe it, really.
To be clear, I love trying. This is very fun. How far do you then get? Like, let's say you have an emotion that you want to evoke in the game. How far is the final song usually from that first impulse?
It depends, because I'm very quick to ask for feedback. I'm very like, here's a rough draft. Is this the right direction? If yes, I'll keep building it out. If no, a lot of the time I scrap it, or like completely strip it down to its core elements. A lot of the time, like if the vibe is right, which is such a hard way to describe it, but like if the creative direction is what we want to go with in the end, then the song sounds pretty much the same, just produced as opposed to just being a demo. My demos are generally like very thin. I don't have a lot of layers in there. It's just like get it done as quickly as possible to get feedback. Yeah, so I don't know. There's scenarios where like the demo will sound pretty close to what the final song sounds like. The final song will sound better, hopefully. Or if the vibe is completely off, then you scrap it and it sounds totally different. But what I do with every at least with every game project is I'll do a listening session with whoever I'm reporting to, or the team that I'm reporting to, and we'll just listen to a bunch of references. So I'll be like, what is the general vibe that you're going for? And we'll just listen to video game music for 1 or 2 hours and we'll really dissect it. So kind of what you were describing, and we'll be like, okay, why do we like this? Is it the tempo? Is it the instruments? Is it the time signature maybe is weird? Is that why we like it? Is it, the emotion that we're hearing in this piece? And I just like write things down. I don't remember what we listen to after the session, but I leave those sessions with a list of like 2 do's and 2 don'ts. So I always like to ask the question of what do you not want in this OST? Where it's like, I don't want this instrument because of this reason, or I don't want, a tempo that's like this because of this reason, because we want to evoke something in the player. And that's generally my North Star. And so I feel like I avoid a lot of, oh, this idea is like really not what we're going for because of that listening session. Not to say that it's perfect. Like I've had plenty of times where I've put something forward and it's like, oh, this isn't really the vibe. Here's why. But that, I think that's the important conversation is the here's why. This doesn't work because ABC. Again, like I'll anchor back on the listening session. That's like, I will like read that all the time to make sure that I'm on the right track. I'm trying to think. I can't give any specific examples, unfortunately, but yeah, generally like that just helps me so much as an anchor. And I'll be like, okay, and I'll just ruminate on it. I'll just ruminate on, okay, we said we kind of want this and we want this and we want this. And I'll just imagine like, I'll probably have like concept art to work off of or videos of gameplay to work off of, even if it's really early. And I'll just kind of ruminate and I'll just play it back in my head or I'll watch it and think about it and try to reconcile it with the notes that I have and go from there. So yeah, I'm very aware of like, it's not me writing music for me. It's when I write music for me, I can do whatever I want. But as you know, like when you're writing for a particular experience, you're keeping the player in mind. And it's like, well, what do we want the player to feel? And is this going to help the player feel the way that we want them to feel? If for whatever reason that changes, like, great, we change that document. But like, I will have a document that I'll share with the whole team and be like, this is what we have. If I have accidentally like not added something that we spoke about, please feel free to add it. But like, I want to make sure that we have like core pillars that we're trying to achieve. I think I approach it with a producer mindset, with like a project manager mindset a lot of the time, because I got to keep myself organized. Especially if you're like switching between projects. I might include some of this like post-show preamble actually in the VOD, if that's okay with you.
Totally.